When people think of Southern California, most people think Hollywood, celebrities, sunshine, and beaches. Very few think of Lake Elsinore, and even less think of Lake Elsinore Killer, also known as the Riverside Prostitute Killer. This sadistic serial killer terrorized Lake Elsinore, Riverside, and the surrounding areas from 1974 until 1992, with 13 confirmed victims and 7 other suspected victims, all of which, in my opinion, could have been prevented. The first victim and only known survivor is Rhonda Jetmore, who was 27 at the time of the attack. Rhonda's occupation, for the sake of this video, will be referred to as streetwalker. She was approached by a man who asked for her services. The man quickly became too aggressive and was forcefully choking her. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, she was able to get a hold of a flashlight. She struck her attacker in the head and ran. Her attacker gave chase and tackled her. A scuffle ensued. Rhonda bit her attacker as hard as she could, causing one of her teeth to break. She attempted to flee again, but once again was tackled. Her attacker then dropped his glasses, and while distracted, she once again began to run. She ran to a passing car who she coincidentally knew. The passenger in the vehicle pulled out a gun, firing off one shot, scaring away the attacker. Sadly, his other victims would not be so lucky to get away, all of whom had the same sorts of work: streetwalking. The body of Kimberly Little, 28, was found dumped on the side of the road in Lake Elsinore. She was found on June 28, 1989, just one day after her birthday. Her body had been wrapped in a blue towel. The towel contained fibers that would later link her death to the Lake Elsinore killer. Her body sustained cigarette burns to her arms and body. She had been hit in the head and strangled. Her autopsy shows she was alive when sustaining the injuries. Christina Lille was last seen December 12, 1989. The following day, her body was located on a hillside in Quail Valley. Christina had marks around her wrist and ankles, indicating she had been tied up. She suffered 4 stab wounds to her chest, 2 stab wounds to her genitals, a black eye, scratches to her face, 1 nipple was partially cut off, and a light bulb was inserted inside of her. All of this before being strangled to death. Just over 1 month later, on January 18th, 1990, only a half-mile away from the location of Kimberly Little, found in Riverside, was another body. She would be identified as Darla Ferguson. She was only 23 years old at the time of her murder. Her body also showed signs of being tied up. She suffered blunt force trauma to her head before being strangled. She was found partially covered by trash bags and her legs propped up. 22 days later, on February 9th, 1990, a nude body was located in a grapefruit orchard in Highgrove. Carol Miller, age 35, was found naked from the waist down. Her shirt was lifted over her head. Authorities believe she was smothered as she had a ripped frenulum. A frenulum is the piece that attaches the upper lip to the gums. A tear usually indicates a struggle. Months passed without an arrest or another victim until the body of Cheryl Coker, aged 33, was found November 6, 1990. Cause of death was ruled strangulation. It is believed the attacker used a wire with extreme force, so much so it cut into her skin. Her right breast was severed and found on a dirt road not far from the dumpster she was found in. A shoe print was found at the scene. This shoe print would help later identify the killer. Susan Sternfield was found in a similar way to Cheryl Coker. She was found in a dumpster located in Riverside. She too had been strangled and was posed nude in an odd position. She was found December 21st, 1990. Less than 1 month later, on January 19th, 1991, a nude body was found near a pile of trash in Lake Elsinore. The woman had a sock stuffed into her throat. Police would identify her as Kathleen Leslie. Her cause of death was ruled asphyxiation. 6 months would pass again with no arrest or murders until July 4th, 1991. The decomposing body of Sherry Latham was found in Lake Elsinore. The method of strangulation could not be determined due to the severity of decomposition. On August 16th, 1991, a body was found in an alley in Corona. She would be identified as Rubidoux resident Kelly Hammond. Kelly, like the others, cause of death was determined to be strangulation. She was also nude and posed in a strange position. Catherine McDonald was 4 months pregnant when she was savagely stabbed to death. She suffered stab wounds to her neck, chest, and genitals. She was found strategically posed in Lake Elsinore. The same shoe prints found at Cheryl Coker's crime scene were found around Catherine, confirming the murders were linked. North of Lake Elsinore, in a city called Glen Avon, better known as Harupa Valley, 35-year-old Delilah Zamora was found. Her larynx had been crushed, and she had injuries to her fingernails, showing she was attempting to claw and scratch at her attacker. The last confirmed victim of the Lake Elsinore killer was 39-year-old Eleanor Caesaris. She was found stabbed and strangled in an orange grove located in Riverside on December 23rd, 1991. Authorities believe an additional 7 victims met their demise at the hands of the Lake Elsinore killer. But due to lack of evidence, charges could not be filed. These 7 victims are 26-year-old Michelle Gutierrez, found in a ditch in Riverside. 25-year-old Charlotte Palmer, found in Romoland. Cause of death, speculated to be strangulation. 37-year-old Linda Ortega, found in Lake Elsinore. Cause of death, stabbing. 27-year-old Martha Young, found in Lake Elsinore. Cause of death, strangulation. 37-year-old Diana Talavera, found in Lake Elsinore. Cause of death, strangulation. 36-year-old Julie Angel, found in Alber Hill. Cause of death, bludgeoning. Sherry Pazur, found in an alley in Riverside. No cause of death was determined. However, shoe prints at the scene matched shoe prints located at the other crime scenes. Also, semen was found on Sherry, showing two different DNAs, causing the result to be considered inconclusive. Authorities attempted to charge the Lake Elsinore killer with the murder of Sherry, but the charges were dropped as the jury deadlocked. So, how did the Lake Elsinore killer's reign of terror finally end? It ended with a simple traffic stop. On January 9th, 1992, police pulled over a man by the name of William Suff, a local man working as a warehouse clerk in Riverside County. During the traffic stop, police saw a knife stained with blood inside the car. At the time of his arrest, he was on parole in the state of Texas. Why was he on parole? Suff and his wife were convicted of beating their 2-month-old daughter to death in 1974. Suff was sentenced to 70 years in prison, but was released after just 10 years. After his release, he made his way to Southern California, where he would become the Lake Elsinore Killer. Suff was brought to trial on 12 counts of murder and 1 count attempted murder. On August 17th, 1995, after just 10 minutes of deliberation, jurors came back with a guilty verdict on all counts. Suff is currently on death row in San Quentin State Prison, where he will remain until his death. Why did Suff commit these horrific murders? Why was he released after only 10 years of his 70-year sentence? If he was not released early, would these women not have suffered such a horrific fate? I do hope the families of the victims get the closure they deserve.